There is a leaking epidemic in Washington, and it's going to come to an end. Today, our Attorney General and Director of National Intelligence put the culprits jeopardizing our national security on notice.
This nation must end this culture of leaks. We will investigate and seek to bring criminals to justice. We will not allow rogue anonymous sources with security clearances to sell out our country.
If you improperly disclose classified information, we will find you. We will investigate you. We will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law, and you will not be happy with the result.
Jeff Sessions says his Justice Department is pursuing 3 times as many leak investigations under President Trump than were open at the end of the Obama era. A staggering number. Let's go to the White House for more on the crackdown. Ed Henry joins us live. Ed?
Jesse, they're not talking about the palace intrigue leaks about who's up and who's down here at the White House. Those leaks may be childish, but not necessarily illegal. Instead, these officials are talking about leaks of classified information that may, in fact, be illegal, potentially including those transcripts of President Trump's calls with 2 world leaders. Jeff Sessions, under pressure from the president to get tough, revealed, as you noted, that they've tripled the number of leak investigations. Press freedom groups and the ACLU denounced this in part because the officials left the door open today to surveillance of reporters to find out who their sources are. And while the administration stopped short of saying journalists will be prosecuted, they warned that government leakers may go to prison.
So today, I have this message for our friends in the intelligence community. The Department of Justice is open for business, and I have this warning for would-be leakers: don't do it.
Most importantly, as I have previously noted, these unauthorized disclosures endanger the safety and security of Americans across the country.
Squashing leaks is just one of many big tasks here for the new Chief of Staff, General John Kelly, as he institutes military-style discipline around here. The New York Times reporting lingering staffers have been kicked out of high-level meetings. Kelly's ordered the doors to the Oval Office closed to cut off random drop-ins. The Budget Chief, Mick Mulvaney, meanwhile, has told us now when he and other cabinet secretaries are on the phone with the president, Kelly's on the line, too, to make sure he knows exactly what's happening. And I noticed something else interesting. When Kelly joined the president on Air Force One tonight on the way to the president's golf resort in New Jersey, Kelly slipped into the press cabin for an off-the-record with reporters. So he seems to also be trying to take at least some control of the message. And, in fact, breaking just in the last few moments, the New York Times now reporting that Special Counsel Robert Mueller has asked the White House for records related to another retired general, Michael Flynn, of course, the former national security advisor. Mueller wants details about whether he was paid by the Turkish government for lobbying, something that wasn't fully disclosed. This is the first time we know of that the special counsel has specifically asked for records from the White House, a story that no doubt will be developing big time over the next few days. And another sign, by the way, Jesse, these leaks are not stopping.
That's right, they aren't. Ed, thanks very much. Have a great weekend. So, Gutfeld, the leaks have exploded. You heard him say that 3 times as many. Why do you think that is? Is it because people are trying to hurt the president, or do you think people are actually trying to take out the president?
You know what? I believe the people in the media will try to portray the leaks as some kind of patriotic endeavor.
Right.
That I am trying to save the country from a deranged president, so I will leak as much as possible. My gut says it's pure sour grapes and bitterness over the election because these previous leaks that just happened were 6 months old. It's something that somebody is gone now, but holding on to things. How do you crack down on leaks at the present stage? I had a boss who used to do this. He would tell each person on his staff a different story and see what story ended up in the press.
Smart.
And then he would fire that person.
You know who else did that?
Who?
J-Lo. When
Really?
there was so much
That was my boss.
and it might have been at the height of Bennifer when
Yeah.
she was dating Ben Affleck, and there were so many stories out there,
Yeah.
so many things had leaked. So she assumed that it was one person from her beauty team, much like your
I was on her
former
beauty
boss.
team.
That's right. And she planted a fake story. It came out. She knew exactly who it was.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it.
So Trump has to tell about 150 stories to different people, and just each detail slightly different.
Okay, that sounds like a great strategy. So, Jeff Sessions, let's listen to what he said about maybe cracking down on the media. Roll the tape.
One of the things we are doing is reviewing policies affecting media subpoenas. We respect the important role that the press plays and will give them respect, but it is not unlimited. They cannot place lives at risk with impunity. We must balance the press's role with protecting our national security and the lives of those who serve in the intelligence community, the armed forces, and all law-abiding Americans.
And there's been moments in the past where journalists have gone to prison to protect the identity of their sources.
Yeah, I mean, that was notably during the Valerie Plame special prosecutor investigation with Patrick Fitzgerald. But actually, looking back on it, none of that ever was necessary, and it shouldn't have happened. But, yes, it did happen. There are also things like when Greg was mentioning the transcripts that leaked and that were from 6 months ago. That seemed petty and spiteful. Then you think of something like in 2006, I believe it was, when the New York Times was asked by the President of the United States not to reveal the information about the fact that the United States was holding Khalid Sheikh Mohammed because we had active and ongoing intelligence work going with him and counterterrorism measures. They did go ahead. They didn't listen to the president. They went forward. It actually it blew up. This started the torture debate. All these things. And so I can look at it from the New York Times point of view. I disagreed with it at the time, and I still do. But I also understand that reporters, they are not the leakers.
I agree.
Okay, they're not the ones that are committing the crime. The crime is from people who swore an oath to protect the information. So I think that I don't think that the Justice Department will actually change this policy. I think they said this, but that it actually won't actually come to anything. I was thinking about Greg yesterday with words versus deeds. I think this is meant to scare people. I actually don't think they'll change it.
And in my judgment, the media and the Democratic Party enjoy the leaks because the media gets the clicks and they get the headlines, and the Democrats like it because it embarrasses the president.
Well, they didn't like it under Obama, and if you think like what President Obama did to journalists, what's happening now is you could trace right back to the Obama administration when they went after James Risen, our own James Rosen, and others.
That's right. Let's hear what Maxine Waters had to say about some of these leaks.
There's a lot of Democrats that are disturbed by this because it threatens our national security. Are you disturbed by it?
No, not at all. I am so glad they're telling us what's going on. And
but we don't need to hear these conversations. They're confidential. This threatens national security.
I need to hear these conversations. Unfortunately, this is his problem. He is in a White House where he's got people working for him that don't believe in him, don't like what he's doing, and they're trying to tell the American public
they're whistleblowers.
Well, and Maxine Waters right there, what she did is she says she supports the criminal leaking of national security information.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
No,
she said she likes it. She wants to hear it.
That's not what she said. And also, when you said there are 3 times more leaks than ever, no. There are 3 times more investigations under the Trump administration into leaks.
There's been a leak every day since Trump has been president.
That's fine, but it's not what you said was wrong. It's not the quantity of the leaks, it's the quantity of the investigation. So let me just tell you, I find this whole thing a big distraction. Greg says, oh, the media is going to say they're involved in patriotic activity, letting people know. Let me tell you something. It is patriotic. It's something the Founding Fathers believed in, which is why press freedoms and press protections are First Amendment. Number 1, they prefer that we know what our government is doing rather than have the government running crazy, doing things without public knowledge. We can't be informed citizens unless we, the people, know what's going on.
So leak private conversations between foreign leaders over pressure.
Let me finish this point because I feel so passionately about this, Jesse.
There is a difference.
There's a between what?
A whistleblower and a leaker.
But that's not what President Trump is up to. President Trump is mad at everybody who's leaking stories, and guess what? This is what Jeff Sessions is doing now. Jeff Sessions has marching orders from President Trump. He's trying to get himself back in good stead with the president by putting on this dog and pony show. But remember,
it's not a dog and pony show.
Let me just tell you,
shut down criminal leaks.
What was it when Republicans were so upset at the Obama administration for doing things like going after my colleague and friend James Rosen, subpoenaing him? I've been subpoenaed when I was working at the Washington Post and threatened with jail. You heard what Dana said about what happened to Judith Miller in the midst of this. So, is that what you guys really believe in? All of a sudden, that reporters are supposed to be tossed in jail?
I don't think the reporters are a priority. I think the leakers are. Go ahead,
I know. I think you're absolutely right. And I think that Dana and Juan can both be right in that
Yes, there is something sacred about press freedoms in this country, and we certainly don't want to see members of the press, journalists, rounded up and thrown into prison. But it's also a question of supply and demand. And, you know, we shouldn't be looking at demand, which is where the journalists are. We should be looking at the supply.
Yes.
And that is what Jeff Sessions and Dan Coats have to address. They have to ask themselves, why are there so many leaks? Who is leaking, and what can we do about it? And I think one thing that they can do to send a message is if someone is actually compromising national security and they have broken the law, they have to be prosecuted. There's a feeling in this country that if you are a powerful person, you are beyond reproach, and that goes back to the Hillary Clinton investigation under James Comey. Deal with the supply, deal with the leakers, and then the rest.
But there's no shortage of this. This guy, Jeffrey Sterling, who leaked to James Risen of the New York Times, is in jail. And, you know, the courts didn't tolerate it. The Justice Department tolerated it to the point that people, especially Republicans, said, what's Eric Holder doing? He's going after the press. Oh, I hear a different story tonight.
This is not about the press. Again, it's exactly what Kennedy said. The supply, the leaking in itself is an internal mutiny. It's a coup in the most cowardly sense. Yep. I mean, they don't even have the guts. If you want to overthrow the government, do it the old-fashioned way. This is such a cowardly...
Put on a black bandana and start smashing stuff in protest.
I mean, I'm serious. This is baby stuff. It's cowardly. It's slimy. It's sneaky. But when you want to talk about the press, and the press which drools over this information. So you're talking about reporters searching stories. They're not. They're drooling over the little grapes that are given to them, old conversations, because that to them is more important than the actual goings-on of government, what's happening right now with terror, economy, and jobs, which is what the people care about. They care about this stuff, words versus deeds. I keep saying it, and I will keep saying it. They're obsessed with words.
I don't think so. Let me.
But you're going to go back and say it's about the reporters being jailed.
No,
it's not.
No, let me argue
Words
with
are
you.
not deeds.
When you see something like warrantless wiretaps, and you say, oh, is the government actually wiretapping me without a warrant? And guess what? Somebody
yes,
leaks
the government
this.
Is spying on you.
Somebody leaks this, and you say, oh, thank God. Now let's have this discussion. What's wrong with that, Greg?
Well,
no, I'm saying you're deflecting. You're deflecting.
But whistleblowers are a critical part of keeping institutions and bureaucracies honest. And there is a mechanism for dealing with whistleblowers.
Yeah, fire them, throw them out.
No, but you're deflecting from an absurd story from yesterday where 6-month-old transcripts of conversations between world leaders were leaked. You're acting like that's heroic.
That's not a national security issue in my mind.
I disagree.
No one
is when you call the President of the United States and it's not going to wind up in the Washington Post.
No, but you know what?
Give them all polygraphs.
No.